This is one of the hardest mate in 2 chess puzzle, and world champion Magnus Carlsen solved it in just less than 2 minutes. So can you think like Magnus Carlsen? Do give this puzzle a try. So before I tell you the answer, I want you to make you understand the process of finding the correct answer. Black's king is stuck in the center of the board. He cannot go to any of these squares because all of these squares are under white's pieces control. Both of his pawns are stuck and cannot move forward. So the only pieces that can do some movement on the board is this rook and this queen over here. So if you were thinking of giving check to the king, let's say by playing b5, then black can block the check with rook to c4, and now you cannot checkmate black's game in the next move. Let's go back. If you give check via this square, then your queen will get captured. If you give a double check with your rook like this, then king will simply move to d4, and now you cannot checkmate in the next move. Let's go back. Hence, in order to checkmate black's game in 2 moves, you have to find a move which puts black in the zugzwang position. Now the key thing to identify here is with which of your piece can you make that move which puts black into the zugzwang position, because white has so many pieces on the board. So an easy way to find the best piece is by first observing which of the piece is not doing its job effectively. So if you see, this rook is very important here on this rank because it's covering the escape squares of the king. This rook over here is defending this square over here. This knight over here is controlling both of these squares. This bishop is controlling these squares, and this bishop is doing a very important job of protecting this rook over here. So this narrows down our option to 2 of these pieces, the knight and the queen. And out of these 2, you don't want to move your knight, because let's say if you move your knight here and give a check, then the rook will capture this knight, and now pawn takes rook, check, and now queen will interfere, and it has taken more than 2 moves to checkmate this game. Let's go back. So that boils down our option to this queen. So we have to make a move with our queen. But the question is where? So obviously there doesn't make any sense to capture this rook over here. If you get your queen to any of these squares, then she will get captured by the opponent's pieces. So that means we have to place our queen somewhere on the A file of the board. If you get your queen to the A1 square, then black will simply block your path by playing rook to c3, and now rook e3 check, king moves to d4, and now rook takes c3 is a mate, but it has taken more moves than 2. So let's go back. So a1 square is eliminated. If you get your queen to the a2 square, then you will get captured and you cannot checkmate in 2 moves. So that doesn't make sense either. If you move your queen to the a3 square, then black will again try to block your path by playing rook to c3, and now you will play rook e3 check. It's a double check by your pieces. So king has to move, and obviously queen takes c3 is a checkmate, but it took 3 moves rather than 2. So let's go back. So that means queen a3 is also not the correct move. Now if you get your queen to the a5 square, then black will simply capture your queen, and then you take back with your pawn, and you have already exhausted your 2 moves. Let's go back. So a5 is not the correct option. If you get your queen to the a6 square, then rook will capture your queen, and then again you cannot mate in 2. If you get your queen to the a7 square, threatening to mate on the e3 square, then the rook will block your path, and then after queen takes rook, and you have already exhausted 2 moves. So let's go back. So therefore the correct answer is queen to a8. And now after playing queen to a8, you have put black in the zugzwang position, because irrespective of whatever move he plays, you're gonna mate in the next move, because black will either have to make a move with his rook or with his queen, and whatever move they choose to play, they will have to leave defense of one of these important squares. Now why these 2 squares are important? Because if your knight jump on this square, then the king would get checkmated, and if the knight jumps on this square, then the king would get checkmated again. So in short, this c5 square and this d6 square are extremely important. And now since it is black's turn to move, black will have to choose either to move his rook or his queen. Let's say if he makes any move with his rook, let's say he gets it here, then knight c5 is a checkmate. Notice this queen cannot capture this knight because currently she is pinned to the black's king. Let's go back. If the rook moves here, then again it's a checkmate. Similarly, if the rook moves to any one of these squares, then he is leaving the defense of this important c5 square, and any move here would lead to the checkmate of black's king. Let's go back. If the rook moves to any one of these squares on the c file, let's say he moves here, then knight d6 would be a checkmate, and this queen cannot capture this knight because currently she is pinned to the black's king. Similarly, if the rook moves here, then again knight d6 is a checkmate, and similar is the case for all of these squares. Let's go back. So by getting your queen to the a8 square, you have put black in the zugzwang position. Any move that he makes with his rook is totally losing the game. Same is the case if black tries to move his queen. So let's say if the queen moves to this square, then the queen has left defense of this important d6 square. So knight d6 would be a checkmate. Let's go back. If it moves to any one of these squares, let's say it moves here, then obviously she's getting captured and the rook cannot capture back because currently the rook is pinned to the black's king. If the queen moves here, then again it's a checkmate. If the queen moves to any one of these squares on the d file, let's say it moves here, then again it's getting checkmated. If the queen moves here, then she gets captured and gets checkmated. If it moves here, then rook e3 would be a checkmate, and it's a double check, so the queen can capture this rook back. Let's go back. If the queen moves here, then knight d6 is a checkmate. If it moves here, then knight c5 is a checkmate. And if it moves on any one of these squares on this diagonal, then knight c5 or knight d6 would be a checkmate. Like this video and do subscribe to my channel if you learned something new. And do join the channel's membership program. And now here is a mate in 2 challenge for you. It's black turn to play. So how can black checkmate white in 2 moves? Let me know your answers in the comments box and I'll see you in the next video.